a deep sense of responsibility that I welcome you all to this national flag off of the COVID-19 vaccination exercise taking place here today at the National Hospital, Abuja. The flag off signifies real optimism and finally will turn the tide against this pandemic that has so affected all of us in Nigeria and the world over. And permit me at this point to extend our sincere appreciation to all the health workers in the FCT and the entire nation for having worked tirelessly over the last 12 months to make sure that all of us stay safe and alive. During the process, many of the health workers paid the supreme price while fighting this disease so that all of us will rest. We recognize their effort and all of you currently fighting in the battle against this disease. What we are witnessing today is the culmination of effort of a lot of dedicated Nigerians who have worked tirelessly and dedicated time, energy, and resources to make beyond the call of duty to make sure that the COVID-19 is made available. His Excellency President Muhammad Buhari has provided focused and unwavering leadership, and without doubt, the efforts of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 under the steady leadership of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, has provided guidance and implementable strategies that has worked for us all. I am happy also to say that in the FCT, we have all concluded preparedness through the cold chain assessment so that, and I want to assure you that we have capacity to store, distribute, and make sure that these vaccines are well kept. And I want to also mention that within the FCT, for instance, we already have designated 65 vaccination points in the 6 area councils for the first phase of the implementation. And these are 25 points in the municipal council, 10 points in Buhari, 10 in Gwagwalada, 8 in Kuje, 7 in Kwali, and the remaining 5 at Abaji. I want to end this address by calling on all the FCT residents to continue to take steps to contain the virus, particularly the well-accepted non-pharmaceutical interventions that has worked very well for us. Having said that, Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, once more we thank you. We thank all our development partners for the hard work that has been done on this, and I do pray that with the flag off of this vaccination exercise, we are now going towards the end of COVID-19. Thank you, and God bless you all.
The Speaker of the House of Representatives, the President of the Senate, vaccine to a frontline health worker. By doing this, we're symbolizing what we've been saying for the last few weeks from the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, that we're going to be prioritizing those who in the last 1 year have sacrificed on behalf of all Nigerians to make sure that those of us who contacted the disease are treated in a humane way, are treated in a way that really replicates the best traditions when it comes to the quality of medical practice. Today, we'll be administering the vaccine to a medical doctor who has been in the front line in the treatment center since March of 2020. Can we give Dr. Cyprian a round of applause? We want to appreciate the CMD and the Board of Directors of the National Hospital for providing us with this environment. I want to, on this platform, wrap up by saying we've said it long before now, that it is not how fast, but how well. It is not how fast we get the vaccines here, but making sure that we get the right vaccines for our environment, getting the right vaccines that are suitable for our cold chain infrastructure. Earlier today, we got the news from our sister agency, the NAFDAC. The DG NAFDAC is here Her team worked tirelessly over the last 48 hours to do the final checks to the vaccines, and she gave us the good news that apart from certifying that these vaccines are safe, they've done the final checks and we can go ahead with the vaccination. Can we give NAFDAC a round of applause? We took all of the measures that were required, more measures than many countries took when it came to selecting the vaccines for Nigerians. Yes, there was a lot of talk about the delay. Yes, there's a lot of talk about why we are not starting when other countries were starting. But we realized that it is more important that we got WHO emergency use listing, that we also looked at some of the more stringent regulatory agencies before we finally asked NAFDAC to assess the vaccines. They've done all of their work, and I want to put it on record again that the vaccines that we're going to be delivering today to Nigerians are safe, they're effective, and we're going to roll out this vaccine in a very efficient manner, just like we all worked together as one country and defeated the wild polio viruses. Today, it feels proud to be a Nigerian. All of you should be proud that finally we're taking that determined step to turn the corner when it comes to finishing the job of controlling COVID-19 in Nigeria. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Day is here, on which Nigerians can now join others in the global community to be vaccinated against the dreaded COVID-19 virus. For us in the health sector, it is a relief and the marking of the start of a tedious but hopeful exercise to see our fellow citizens develop immunity against this virus. As has already been helplessly follow of COVID-19 casualties in our country, especially among health workers in our list, which was also depleting the human resource for health and making it all the more harder to tend to other people in need of health care. Every life lost to this pandemic mattered, but the loss of health workers compares to soldiers lost at the war front and is therefore laden with sentiment. The vaccination campaign we kick off today will be in 4 phases and will align with the planned arrival of vaccines in batches. Each phase targets a specific segment of our eligible population to ensure equity in vaccine deployment. The defined frontline healthcare workers are prioritized globally for vaccinations against COVID-19 due to their higher exposure to the risk of infection with COVID-19 in the course of duty. For our own sake, since any one of them absent due to illness means again a depletion in their ranks and can forebode staff shortage. It therefore makes sense to cater first to those who cater to us. The next prioritized group are those who, if they become infected, are at higher risk of severe disease. These are the elderly and the vulnerable, as defined by presenting with pre-existing conditions like obesity, diabetes, chronic kidney, respiratory, and heart disease, and cardiovascular diseases and other medical conditions as identified by their doctors. Ladies and gentlemen, all eligible groups must get vaccinated as and when due while the non-eligible groups should respectfully await their turn. The vaccines are more than enough to go around, and they'll be coming in phases. Persons under 18 years and pregnant women are for now not eligible except they have been medically certified as vulnerable due to one underlying ailment or the other. The reason for them not being generally eligible now is because there is no scientific assessment yet of the safety for persons under 18 years old of age and pregnant women. That said, let us encourage the elderly and those with known underlying illness to be vaccinated, and so to shield the community, loved ones, and ourselves from COVID-19. We have taken steps to ensure vaccine security and accountability, but we must also warn against any kind of foul play or underhand dealing in this exercise. Any infraction will embarrass us and will be sanctioned swiftly. This campaign must be done according to the books, which have been so elaborately put together by the Ministry of Health and the National Primary Health Development Agency. So I urge citizens to be vigilant and to report any unwholesome practice or attitude to the police or to the Federal Ministry of Health. These vaccines are our common assets, and the responsibility is on every person to protect them and ensure proper use. The Federal Ministry of Health and NPHCDA desire an impactful and successful vaccination campaign. It is important that all sectors key into the federal government's homegrown strategy for the COVID-19 vaccination, which is known as the TEACH phenomenon, and the Electronic Management of Immunization Data System, EMID. I urge all states of federation and the FCT to align with the initiatives in order to have a peaceful and orderly campaign across the country. I want to use this opportunity to thank the dedicated staff of the Federal Ministry of Health, led by the Permanent Secretary, Mr. Abdulaziz Mashi, the NPHCDA, led by Dr. Faisal Ashraf, and particularly our donors and our partners who have walked this very hard way with us. I also remember recognized members of the UN agency who have always supported us with their single basket idea, and also with the technical support they have always given us. Worthy of recognition must be the vibrant members of the media who I see arranged right in front of me, almost more than the number of us sitting on this side, who have done their duty by following developments in the health sector since COVID-19 broke out in February 2020. Today is primarily a day for vaccinating our healthcare workers. I want to tell you that we are very proud of you all and wish you well, and urge you to continue to give your best to the country and to fellow men, whatever the circumstances. Despite the beginning of this vaccination exercise today, I would like to emphasize that we are not out of the woods. Yes, there is light at the end of the tunnel, but we are still in the tunnel. We are not out of the tunnel. We need to continue as strictly as before with the non-pharmaceutical interventions, the public health measures, the wearing of masks, even if you have been vaccinated, the social distancing, the avoidance of crowd, and all the use of sanitizers and measures that have been expressly sung over the months in order to have the full benefit of this exercise. We are aiming for herd immunity. We are aiming to vaccinate 70% of the population. We are also aiming to look after the interests of our neighboring states in the West African sub-region, with whom we have a lot of human traffic. Because, as has been said by the Director General of the World Health Organization, no one is safe until all of us are safe. Thank you for your attention.
Another great milestone in the response to COVID-19 pandemic in Nigeria. We have every cause to be hopeful and more determined to win this war. The human activities that culminated in the arrival, authorization, and distribution of vaccines have shown that humanity, when working for a common goal and unity of purpose, possess the capacity to achieve a lot. This is more so because the virus spread around all countries and territories of the world with alarming speed, recorded millions of fatalities and infections without discrimination on the basis of sex, creed, tribe, language, and even status. For us in Nigeria, and indeed nations of the world, the lessons to be drawn from this lack of discrimination by the virus are numerous. They include the fact that we must approach the vaccines phase with unity of purpose. 2, we must understand that nobody is safe until everyone is vaccinated. And 3, we must recognize that vaccine hesitancy will impact negatively on our lives and those of our loved ones if allowed to foster. 4, we must demonstrate at all times that this is a war of MPIs plus vaccines for the survival of everyone. And 5, we must believe our government on the safety and efficacy of the vaccines brought to Nigeria. And lastly, we must support the planned and systematic rollout of the vaccines and mobilize our citizens as we move into the states. In keeping with our promise, the Presidential Task Force is prioritizing the frontline health workers in the first batch of vaccines received. They have fought hard to save us. They laid down their lives for us, and in the ICUs and treatment centers, they became our last line of defense. On behalf of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the government and the people of Nigeria, I salute our heroic frontline medical personnel for their professionalism and commitment to saving lives. This ceremony is just the beginning of a well-detailed vaccination plan that will reach every eligible Nigerian at the appropriate time over the year 2021 and 2022, when we hope to have covered over 70% of Nigerians and achieve herd immunity. The vaccines will be arriving in batches, and I urge all Nigerians to be patient with relevant agencies of the federal government and subnational entities managing the deployment process. This is a novel rollout, just like the virus was a novel virus. Let me state categorically that vaccines are very sensitive, life-saving commodity, and the only authorized source is the federal government that has signed indemnity with the manufacturers. I therefore appeal to all Nigerians not to patronize fraudsters who are out to defraud, get rich, and in the end, endanger your lives. We must all be vigilant. On behalf of His Excellency the President, I now have the single honor and privilege to flag off the vaccination of eligible Nigerians against COVID-19, beginning with the frontline medical workers, to the glory of God. And I thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, SGF. I'd also come speak to the public about it. But in the interim,
million people in this country. That's why I call it alcohol. It's been one long year of torture, of sadness, of a change in lifestyle from what we have already been established as our lifestyle. In doing that, let me thank the SGF and his team, because we have to remember how we got here, because we're very quick to forget sometimes. It's been about a year now, and the president put together a team led by the SDF and supported very, very ably by the ministers, the relevant ministers, and health personnel. I want to thank you and your team for what you have done and how you have led us to this point. I remember that time a year ago when the whole of Nigeria witnessed a daily briefing from the SGF and his team. I emphasize the word daily briefing because it's not a mean feat to sit down or to stand out there every single day and keep Nigerians abreast, transparent to Nigerians, briefing with facts and with truth. And whilst we like to compare ourselves with other countries that are well organized, we saw how they did their daily briefing and how in a matter of 30 days, a month, they had to stop. Not because they didn't have the capacity, but because it was so difficult to keep abreast with the way this thing was ravaging the world. The way the virus was mutating and there were just different things were coming up. They stopped. And I'm talking about America. But our SGF and their team continued on the daily to brief us, to answer questions. And I think that is commendable and deserves another round of applause. Thank you very much. I must also thank, on behalf of the National Assembly and therefore on behalf of all Nigerians that we represent, the health workers. The health workers have been the major, should I say, source of success for where we are today. For a country of almost over 200 million, yes, many will say, oh, we don't have reported cases, we don't have statistics. But even with the statistics we have, 200 million people, and to record the number of deaths that we have, I think the health workers have done so well. They've put their lives on the line, and they have manifested what it is to be a true Nigerian. The can-do spirit that many of us often forget that we have in this country. And I think they deserve even a bigger round of applause. Our journey to recovery, to reach a level of herd immunity that we all seek or we all long for. In this journey, let me very quickly preempt our journalists. We're a country of 200 million people or thereabouts. Whilst I expect the journalists and the press to continue to play their very important role of checks and balances, I want to please implore and charge and ask that we do it with a sense of responsibility in our reporting and not give to unfounded rumors. And this is a time for us to rally behind the government, because like the SGF said, the virus knows no creed, knows no religion, knows no ethnicity, knows no sex, knows no age. So it is time for all of us to come together as a country. Because as I've often said, we're actually in a war, but in a war with an unseen enemy. And therefore, when a country goes to war, you go as one. So I want to implore the journalists, I want to implore Nigerians out there, not to give in to conspiracy theories, because we will hear them. We will hear conspiracy theories. There will be stories about, no, this virus is better than this vaccine is better than that one. No, it's the no. Vaccine is a vaccine is a vaccine. There are so many out there: Moderna, Pfizer, AstraZeneca, which is what we have today, that will do the job. And so we should encourage the government in providing and rolling out more and rolling out as many vaccines as possible. We have about 4 million now, and there's many more coming. The rollout plan is just as important as the vaccine itself, and that's what we should do. Even in countries where they have fewer in terms of population, they have issues with rollout because this is new, and so we will need the encouragement of the Nigerian people. We must not play politics with vaccine. We must not play politics with the health of our neighbor. We must be on the same page, whilst we also correct and do what you need to do in terms of your role in checking the government and holding the feet to fire, to their feet to the fire. We must do it with acute responsibility. From my understanding, the vaccine has a 12-week in between the first and the second dose. And from my understanding, the longer that interregnum, that period of between first and second, the more effective the vaccine is. From the research and the questions I have asked, AstraZeneca has been proven. Some people say it's 60-something% effective. Well, if it's 60-something percent effective, I have asked questions as well. But apparently, it's because it was the last, one of the last to come out just before the Johnson & Johnson. By the time it gets to 12 weeks after the first dose, it gets to the stage of 90-something. That's when it hits the 90-something percentile, from my understanding. But whatever the case is, I'm sorry? Yes, I mean, the chairman, the Senate Health Committee just said I was applying for Masters in Public Health. Well, I'm sorry, the issue of, what do you call it now? The issue of this virus is not the exclusive reserve of you doctors. This is public health that concerns all of us. And I can tell you that some of us are so concerned, even the man out there, that you'll be surprised that he knows more than you. Because this involves lives. Maybe some friend or some relative has dropped dead. So we do our research, but I still give deference to your professional knowledge. I think I owe it to the Nigerian people to also educate a little bit on the full implication of vaccination. I don't want us to go away thinking once you've been vaccinated, that's the end of the story. Like was said earlier on today, no, that's not the end. That's just the beginning of the journey until you take your second vaccination. But even then, we have to be mindful of the person that has not been vaccinated. So my understanding again is that once you've been vaccinated, you develop a level of immunity and you cannot be sick again. But from my understanding, whilst that can happen, the virus can still come into you, but it's ineffective in you, but you remain a carrier. You still carry the virus. Am I correct? So, if that be the case, for those who are lucky to get vaccinated early enough, understand that whilst you are safe, you may still be carrying the virus, and so you need to protect your neighbor. And so you need to continue to wear the mask. You need to continue to observe those protocols. that were followed for a year, as inconvenient as it may be. You need to continue to wash your hands. You need to continue to wear your face mask and wear properly, except when you're speaking at the podium. So for me, it is important to send that message, that message to Nigerians that even though you've been vaccinated, you must continue to observe that protocol until we achieve that level of herd immunity. So I want to thank everybody once again. I want to thank the people who put this together. God bless you all. Thank you very much.